Hello everyone and welcome back to jQuery lessons on Codecademy. So in the last lesson we started looking at syntax, and today we're going to be going over what we have learned in the last two lessons. So great work, we've covered a lot so far. Let's take a second to review what we have learned. What jQuery is and how it can manipulate HTML elements, so these are things we have learned, and we have learned jQuery syntax. So when we're ready, let's move on so that we can learn how to make an interactive button for our website. At the ready, so let's get started then. Instructions. In your index.html tab, so where we are, add a script tag to connect your HTML to script.js. So script tags usually go at the very bottom of the body tag, I believe, which is where I'm also going to be putting them, unless somebody corrects me, because that's the place there that I saw them in. So script, and then we have src. Oh no, it's one of them is src equals, but the one before is something else. So what do we want to link it to? Tag connect to script.js. It's going to give us an error if we haven't done it correctly, so it should be fine. And in your script.js tab, put document into a jQuery object and call ready. Okay. There we go. And I have a feeling that, yep, as I said, type, that's what I forgot. So type equals text/JavaScript. And that, did you remember closing? Isn't that how you close it? That is how you close it, I'm pretty sure. Oh no, it's not skipped, it's script. Now that should be fine. There we go. Now we have a button visually that doesn't actually do anything yet. So let's make it do something, hopefully. Get yourself in. Great. Next, let's include our function keyword and two new actions together: mouse enter and fadeTo. So mouse enter, so it's a function. Whenever there are parentheses after something, it's a function or a method or whatever you want to call it. So the function mouse enter does what you might expect. It produces a change when your mouse enters a given HTML element. So for example, we have document in JavaScript.ready. So once the HTML site has loaded, once the HTML has loaded, mouse enter function, it's going on div. So once the mouse comes to the button or whatever this is specifying, so in this case the div, once the mouse comes over the div, what it's going to do is hide the div, so it's going to make it invisible. So this would hide every div on the page as soon as your mouse is over one. So we'll find out how to affect just one div among many in the next lesson. I'm guessing it's going to do with IDs or classes. So for now we only have one div, so this setup is okay. So instead of hide, however, we'll replace fadeTo instead of mouse enter. fadeTo takes two arguments or inputs between its parentheses, and all functions usually take at least one input. Some don't, but most do. Between its parentheses separated by a comma, the speed at which to fade and the opacity transparency to fadeTo. So you might not want it to fade completely, you might just want it to fade to an extent. So for example, if you want it to fade quickly and to this opacity, it's going to come to 25% of its original opacity, making it very light colored. So our instructions using the examples above make it so your div fades to 1 or 100% opacity, so nothing is going to change when your mouse enters the div. Or I don't think anything is going to change, we will see. Make the animation speed fast. Make sure to give fadeTo its inputs in order: speed, then speed, then opacity. You have to make them in order, otherwise it's going to give you an error. So let's go into script.js and now we have this here. Let's make another one of these, and here we want div, and we want .fadeTo. I think 2 has, yep, it does have a capital. And then we want speed, so it told us to make it fast, and then to fade to 1. So let's save code, and nothing is happening. Let's see. It looks like you didn't set your div's opacity to 1. Check the example in the instructions. Oh right, I forgot the semicolon there. That's probably the problem. Please follow the instructions on the full preview page to test your code. Okay. Okay, so what I was doing wrong was that firstly, I don't have the function in here, but secondly, I also need mouse enter. So the easiest thing to do is just to copy this over, and instead of height we can put fadeTo, and then in here we can put fast and then 1. So let's save and submit, and now the button, as you can see, changes its opacity. So let's move on. So now we have only made the button change its opacity to become less opaque. But now we want it to go back once our mouse leaves the button. So how do we do that? So your button looks great now, it stands out when the user mouses over it. However, you'll notice that when you take your cursor off the button, it stays dark. What we really want is for the button to become light again when our mouse leaves, as I said. So you might have guessed that jQuery includes a mouse leave action. So we were using the mouse enter action, now we want to use the mouse leave. So if so, you're right. So if you want to learn more, you can just check out the jQuery documentation. So our instructions are to basically make that work. So between that and that, so between these two, between the ones that end ready and mouse enter, we want to add mouse leave that uses fadeTo to return your div's opacity to 0.5. So it's just like the previous fadeTo, it should have a fast as its first input. So basically what you need to do is copy this, but instead of mouse enter you want mouse leave here, and instead of fadeTo fast 1 you want fadeTo fast 0.5. So let's save and submit, and the button becomes darker. When we take our cursor out, it becomes lighter again. And I hope that you can notice the change. And we have also completed this section. So let's move on. Eureka! Great job, you've gone from static HTML and CSS to dynamic jQuery goodness in no time flat. So now you can see some of the power behind jQuery, and as you learn more, you'll be able to work all kinds of amazing interactive magic. Good. So feel free to play around with your new button. What happens when you change fast to slow? What happens when you change the opacity values? So let's actually try changing fast to slow just to see what happens, because I am actually interested. And we get the badge for that. Cool. Okay, so yeah, the opacity changes quite a bit slower, or at least noticeably. So let's try that now. I also want to try if we can enter numbers for it. Let's see, can we enter like, I don't know, 5,000 maybe? Is that valid? Because that should be 5 seconds. Yes, you can also enter numbers for it. It also works. So you can also test that out by yourself. So if you enter, I don't know, 1, that's 1 millisecond, it should be instant, basically. Let's try 1 for this as well. As you can see, it pretty much instantly changes. 1 millisecond, you can't really notice that. So that was just to test it out. So if you guys enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up, share and subscribe. If you didn't, then you know what to do, just click the thumbs down button and tell me in the comments how I can improve for next time so that you do like the video for next time. But until that next time, thank you guys so much for watching and goodbye.